Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we're going to be having a little bit of a look at Lusamine. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of days ago, we had a look at double colourless energy, and the fact that some people thought it should be banned, and I made my argument for the fact that I really didn't think it should. Link to that one in the description. Lusamine is not going to be banned. There is no chance Lusamine gets banned. But Lusamine is a problem, and it definitely needs an errata. So let's have a look, shall we? Now, Lusamine, on the face of it, looks like a fairly unassuming card. What it allows you to do is to put 2 in any combination of stadium cards and supporters from your discard pile into your hand. It's a recovery card, and isn't it just the case that recovery cards so very often end up being the biggest gosh darn problems that we have? Don't believe me? Let's not forget that Lysander's trump card was possibly the worst card we ever had in terms of, oh my goodness, ban it now, ban it now, ban it now, ban it now, ban it now. To be fair, you could give that to Neo Genesis Slowking, but either way, it was a pretty gosh darn bad one. And then we had Puzzle of Time just recently get banned and expanded. And the problem is that with recovery cards, you end up using cards more often than you should. So cards that previously were really good, but you could only play them so much so it was mitigated, become over the top good because all of a sudden that restriction isn't there anymore. And there's been a bunch of people lately that frankly have been taking advantage of Lusamine, which I know sounds a little bit mean. And there's a couple ways you can do this. One of the main ones is energy denial. Now, we've lost Team Flare Grunt in Standard, although in Expanded, it is going strong. Lets you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. But we've still got Plumeria. Plumeria lets you discard 2 cards from your hand, and then discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then we've got Faber at the moment, which lets you put either a special energy, a tool, or a stadium into the Lost Zone. And when they go into the Lost Zone, ladies and gentlemen, they cannot be gotten back. Now, these are supporter cards, which means you can only play 1 per turn. And like any non-basic energy card, you can only play 4 of them in your deck. So once you've played those 4, you're out. Well, Lusamine comes in and goes, actually not the case. So now you get cards like Plumeria, like Faber, and then Expanded, like Team Flare Grunt, that allow you to essentially get rid of all of your opponent's energy. It's not get rid of a few. Now I'm out of them, now I'm going to let my opponent play. No. They're gone now. Remember that one of the biggest problems of Puzzle of Time was Crushing Hammer. Crushing Hammer, coin flip, get rid of any of your opponent's energy, but you could only play 4 of them, and on a coin flip, so you'd only hit 2. But then time you brought in Puzzle of Time, and you were essentially playing 8, and expecting to hit 4, then we got into a little bit of a problem. One of the other issues here is Ace Roller, and Ace Roller could arguably be an even bigger problem. Ace Roller lets you pick up one of your damaged Pokemon and put it into your hand. Now, this is going to be really exacerbated when we get these Tag Team GXs. Something like a Magikarp and Wailord Tag Team GX is a basic Pokemon with 300 HP. We're already seeing an Expanded at the moment that Wailord with 250 HP as a basic is becoming a great stalling deck. Ironically, this also really loves these energy denial cards like Team Flare Grunt and Plumeria. And the problem is that you've got Max Potion, but you're only able to play 4 of those, so they run out eventually. And then you've got Ace Roller, and Ace Roller you can play 4 of them, but they run out eventually, except with Lusamine, they don't. You see, here's the problem. Lusamine lets you get any 2 supporter cards from the discard pile and put them into your hand. And that includes Lusamine. So what you can essentially do is play your 4 Ace Roller, and let's say you're playing 2 Lusamine. Well, the first Lusamine gets you back 2 Ace Roller, that puts you up to 6. And then you've got 1 more Lusamine left. Well, that doesn't put you up to 8 Ace Roller, because you get 1 Ace Roller back and a Lusamine. And then one turn you play Ace Roller, the next turn you play Lusamine to get a Lusamine and an Ace Roller. And then you play the Ace Roller, and next turn you play Lusamine to get back Lusamine and Ace Roller. And you never, ever run out of Ace Roller, because you can always just use Lusamine to get back a Lusamine and an Ace Roller. And then you've got Ace Roller in hand, and you play it, and you've got a Lusamine in hand, and you play it to get a Lusamine and an Ace Roller, and you literally never run out of Ace Roller. And you spend the entire game recovering your Ace Roller, recovering your Lusamine, and healing again and again and again, creating a loop which I don't think was ever really intended. I mean, there's a really specific counter to Ace Roller coming in our next set. There is a Mr. Mime coming, which is so specific, it stops you picking up damaged Pokemon. So any card that picks up an undamaged Pokemon, let's say a Super Scoop Up on an undamaged Pokemon, fine. But picking up a damaged Pokemon, nope, can't do it, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot do it. That's ridiculous. But that Mr. Mime has been printed, and in Japan, it's going to be printed over here in February. And that must be as a direct counter to Ace Roller. Now, at this stage, you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, what about Pal Pad? Why isn't Pal Pad a problem? And the reason Pal Pad isn't a problem is because it's an item card. And you can't really recover it, especially with Puzzle of Time gone. Now, sure, there are things like Orangaroo, but Orangaroo's not such a problem, because Orangaroo lets you put any free cards onto the bottom of your deck, but it is as an attack. So essentially, you're putting up a weak Pokemon, 120 HP, bad weakness. So you may well be giving your opponent a prize, and you're using your attack for the turn, and we're kind of okay with that. You're giving up a lot to do it. Whereas something like Lusamine or Pal Pad, it's just in the course of your turn. But Pal Pad's limited. Yes, you can use it to get back 2 Ace Roller or 2 Team Flare Grunt or 2 Plumeria. But after 1 or 2 or even 4 of these if you're desperate, it's gone away and you can't have it back. Whereas Lusamine can get itself back. And here's the weirdest thing, right? And David Hockman, the lovely David Hockman, has pointed this out. He's not the only one. It shouldn't be this way. Because cards that work like this generally say, not including itself. I'll give you a couple of prominent examples. Trainer's Mail. Trainer's Mail lets you run through your deck very, very quickly. You get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put an item card in your hand that isn't Trainer's Mail. You see, there's a specific wording of the card that you can't use it to get Trainer's Mail. It's good for digging, but you can't dig, oh, I've only hit a Trainer's Mail, hey, let's keep digging. It's mitigated. But probably the bigger example here, how about something like Junk Arm? Junk Arm was a ridiculous card. It let you discard 2 cards from your hand and then pull a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand. But you couldn't use it to get Junk Arm back, because otherwise you would essentially have infinite Junk Arms for the entire game, and that would be frankly silly. So why does Lusamine not have this? Why does Lusamine not say, put 2 in any combination of supporter and stadium cards from your discard pile into your hand? You cannot choose Lusamine with the effect of this card, and that would solve everything. It would still be a good card, it would still be useful, it would still work as intended, but it would stop these loops. It's not reusing supporters, that's not what's broken. Pal Pad isn't broken. It is the looping that is broken here. That's the issue. It's using all of these energy denial cards turn after turn so your opponent never has any energy. It's using Ace Roller turn after turn. To put it very bluntly, let's say you're playing a Magikarp and Wailord Tag Team GX. If your opponent cannot 2-hit KO you, that is to say do 150 damage a turn, they will never KO you. Because one turn you play Ace Roller, the next turn you play Lusamine, and then the next turn you play Ace Roller. You're playing Ace Roller every other turn guaranteed, so they hit you, you play Lusamine. They hit you, you don't get KO'd, down comes Ace Roller. And this is supporter cards, right? It's going to happen more in the future. There's no chance that it gets banned whatsoever because a ban isn't needed here. But can we all agree that we need an errata on this? And it's very simple. An errata for newer players is basically where the wording of the card is changed to underpower the card a little bit. So something like Pokemon Catcher initially didn't require a coin flip. It was then errata, so it required a coin flip even though it didn't need it. And then when it got reprinted, it did get reprinted requiring a coin flip. I'm not saying it needs to be banned. It doesn't need to be banned. But I absolutely am saying it needs an errata and it needs it like yesterday. But I'd love to know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen, so do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the most important rule as always. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.